Hi, I'm Don from the Wombats, and you're listening to Recess with Spinelli.
You are listening to Recess with Spinelli, WSPN 91.1 FM, Skidmore College Radio. And today we are here with a Liverpool, England-based band known for their poppy and romantically tragic songs, the Wombats. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
A trend I've been noticing lately is that a lot of UK bands don't want to be described as pop, or don't want to be described as indie, but they'd rather be described as pops. Some recent examples that come to mind are like the Vaccines, the Kooks, and you guys as well. Is there why is that in particular?
I think indie is such a broad term. I mean, as is pop, really, to be honest. I think we've always found it hard to put ourselves into any one category, or genre of music, because we all have so many different influences in there that, I think we could easily... Some people think we're a rock band, some people think we're a pop band, some people think we're indie, some people think we're like... Indie pop or electro indie, or, it's kind of... I think it's just music, and I think it's up to everyone else to decide what we are. I don't think we have too strong an opinion, but I think every album we've done, whether the sound's changed or not, we still make kind of pop songs, but the clothes on the skeleton that is pop change every now and again.
So I guess, how would you guys describe either alternative rock, indie, or pop? What are some of the differences in between the genres to you?
There's kind of, as with any spectrum, of music or light or whatever it is, it's kind of like there's so many overlapping areas of, I don't think one thing is never like purely pop, really. I mean, maybe there are some songs that are purely pop and some songs that are purely alternative or country or whatever. But I think the whole thing with music is people are inspired by different genres and different things, and they try and assimilate that into their own music. So like some of the references, sometimes we will be like, oh yeah, I've got an idea for this section. Think maybe like David Bowie, or think maybe Churches, or think maybe there'll be different not starting points, but references for how we to explain what's in our heads. I wouldn't know where to start. That sounds like an essay for for some student to do a PhD on the actual differences between it. It would take far too long to even try and explain. Bez,
I think that's something maybe musicians don't think as much about. It's probably more something that people who actually review the music will go into depth to it.
Your single Greek Tragedy, which has been largely popular, I recently heard a rumor that it may or may not have been one of the most popular or one of the most streamed songs currently on the internet. Is that true at all, or?
Yeah, well, we get told these things as well. But no, I think our label said that for a week or something, Greek Tragedy was the most streamed song on Spotify or something like that, worldwide. And obviously we don't sit there monitoring all these things. We're too busy doing shows. But all our the labels all said that, and our manager was telling us that. So it must be true.
But was that a big surprise?
It's a cyber pat on the back, from people around the world that, okay, cool, people are liking it as well as much as we do. So yeah.
Now, actually, speaking of music streaming and Spotify, it has been in the news lately in that a lot of musicians have been shying away from it, I guess because of royalties or not getting money or just people not buying music. What are your thoughts on music streaming in general?
That is the future. That's what people choose. That's the chosen format for most people at the moment. And I think to shy away from it, it's not trying to avoid... it's going to happen eventually. You might as well just play ball with it and get used to it. But also the format, it's still new. It's still in work in progress. It's not perfect the way it is, and in its current format. But I think that's where it's going to head, and we just need to find people just need to find the right, what's going to work for musicians versus work for Spotify or Tidal or all the other new WIMP, all these other streaming services.
So do you think artists like Taylor Swift are making a big mistake then?
Well, that's her decision, isn't it? And maybe it makes sense for her because she's successful enough and powerful enough in a way in the music world, and she's got enough fans that she can do that, and she still sells a shit ton of albums. Like, however she wants to make it happen, people will buy her album somewhere.
Yeah, she can do whatever she wants, but it all kind of like overshadows, like, you know, smaller bands maybe who, like, you know, really can benefit from this, you know, from a service like Spotify.
I think the positives outweigh the negatives personally. Like, the idea of being able to make, you know, you could make an album in like Albany, not have a record company, not have any fans or anything, but you could still get, which, like, when we started, there was no service that provided, like, we couldn't get music anywhere until MySpace came along. You know, they can, like, upload it through, like, TuneCore or one of these, you know, companies that put it out all, like, digitally. And for $50 a year, you can have, like, everyone in the world at least have access to it. You know, so it's an exciting thing for musicians to be able to use at that level. Through MySpace, obviously, all of a sudden we had this like promoter in Paris, in France. Just like these students like got in touch with us and were like, "Oh, we really like your stuff. You know, do you want to come and do a gig in Paris?" And this was well before we were signed or anything. And we travelled over there. They just like paid for our flight, and we just stayed on the floor of this guy's in this flat. We didn't get any fee, you know, or anything. It was just, and we had such a good time doing that, and that led to us going back to Paris more and more. You know, I think the same with Norway and Germany. Like, we had, you know, even before being signed, and that's what I was talking about with the Spotify thing. It's like, it's just an extension of that kind of people being able to find out about you. And anyway, and then we got an email one day from Vinyl Junkie in Japan, and it was like, "Hey guys, really love your stuff. Do you fancy making an album for us?" And we were like, we had nothing else, you know, going on, and they were like, "Yeah, we'll give you $1,000," and we were like, "Woohoo!" Yeah, party time.
Yeah.
So looking at all this nowadays, looking at everything you did in the past, all the first stuff, is it kind of surreal to look at, you know, staying on some random guy's flat, or, you know, from that first show at Hannah's Bar in Liverpool? Is it all kind of like a weird, distant memory now?
No, it's still, lots of it's quite vivid, but yeah, I mean, it is. Obviously, we've been signed since 2007, so we're way past the halfway point of our like career being what it is now compared to what it was. But they're really fond memories, and like we always say, I think it's a shame that lots of bands, or, you know, there are bands that maybe like make a song, you know, and within the first few months of being a band, they might get signed and they might start getting some money thrown at them, and they miss out on all that, like, really
developing as a band naturally. You know, like we were like, you know, building and building for like 3-4 years before anything like started to happen. Yeah,
and you know, you end up spending the time of like, I did lots of the driving, Tor did lots of the like backline teching, Murph did obviously all the tour managing, and it was kind of and it was just fun, you know. It's like it's just a different struggle. Like, we don't have any regrets of that at all. Like, and it's really, they're good memories to go back to and be like, "Do you remember when we did that?" And like, how did we get through that?
Some of the most like fun memories like happen around that time. We were so excited, and like we like, you know, it was so like we were on this mission to like, okay, we're gonna conquer this.
From the one I love.
Now, getting back to the album. Back in October 2013, you guys released Your Body Is a Weapon with kind of like a tease saying the album would be coming out in 2014, got pushed back to 2015. So was there something going on, or was that just a really, really like year and a half early tease that you guys were doing to the audience?
Well, it was kind of a little bit out of our hands, to be honest, because we'd been writing for, I don't know, 8 or 9 months, having finished touring from the last album, and we'd made a bunch of songs, and like we were happy with a lot of them. But when we made Your Body Is a Weapon, you know, we got really excited about it, and the label got really excited, and so one of the guys at the label was like, "This is awesome. We just need to, like, can we just release this?" You know, he wanted to release it as a demo, like the thing we'd recorded in Liverpool, and we were like, "Well, why would we do that? Because we haven't finished writing the album yet." And he was like, "Yeah, but it's just like, you know, to keep the fans interested, give them something new." And we were like, "Well, if we're going to do that, we want to record it properly." So we went over to LA and recorded it with Eric Valentine, and then released it. But it was kind of weird because it wasn't a single, but people thought it was. You know what I mean? It was like, so I think Anyway, we're always happy that like the label wanted to put out some new music, and we were like, yeah, great, we want people to hear this song we've made. So, but we said, you know, we're probably not going to be able to finish the album until at least next year. And they were like, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. And then obviously we tried recording with a producer in LA, and it didn't work out in 2014. And then we ended up working with Mark Crew, and that wasn't until like June 2014. And his schedule was so big. We'd finished writing by then, but his schedule was so busy that we couldn't actually get enough time in until we wouldn't be able to finish it until December. And then it couldn't get mixed until like the start of February. You know what I mean? It was like all these other things that kept happening. It was all out of our hands.
We couldn't do anything about it. You know, like we sat there we had all these songs that we just wanted to get in the studio record. It was quite frustrating actually. And it was some months of just, you know, like waiting for this finally to happen, and you know, it was just such a relief when the all the songs got mixed, and like having the whole album, it was such a relief. And like, yeah,
and then we still had to wait like over 2 months before it came out, but fortunately we started touring you know, in the meantime, which was really enjoyable. And some of, you know, Greek Tragedy came out, and as I was saying before, it's like that relief of just like, so any good news, like, you know, was just a bonus really for us. It was just yeah.
Actually, that pressure to release songs on a regular basis seems to be something that's been prevalent in the industry, because, you know, you have an album, but albums don't seem to last too long in the media, so you always want to release songs on a regular basis, where it seems like you guys seem to have about a 4-year gap between each album. Do you guys ever feel like really pressured to push something out before it's ready at all?
I mean, in our own minds, obviously we'd always like things to move a little bit faster, but we're quite patient, and we know that we want to wait. You know, we want to make sure we do the best album that we can, and if that takes an extra year or two, then we're happy to wait. And to be fair to our record label, they've been really good, you know, giving us the time and the space to just make the best album we can, and push us. You know, if they don't think something's good enough, they're like, come on guys, you can do better than this. And I think they've actually been really good. You do hear horror stories though about, you know, record companies just like, right, let's just release anything, like get something out. And apart from Your Body Is a Weapon, which was only one song that we were happy with anyway, they gave us the time and space we needed. Yeah.
Well, what are you guys most proud of on this album that you guys think you accomplished?
I think for me, it's just like the whole album and how it works together. Like, you can listen to it from the start till the end, and you know, that's kind of one thing that took so long. We kept searching for certain songs that we felt were missing, and I think it's just like, yeah, sonically and like songwriter wise, it just kind of like, it makes sense as an album, and it all feels like thought through from start to finish.
Maybe a bit more variation than there has been on previous albums. It feels like it takes you on a bit of a journey, and you know, having different songs having different feels. Some, the English Summer being like a really energetic, full-on guitar-y, probably the heaviest song that we ever written, and then going to like something like, you know, Isabel, which is like the most stripped down thing we ever done, with electro-y kind of beats, almost like Bon Iver kind of sounding thing, or like, you know, emoticons being like, you know, almost funky in sections, and you know, like we really like, played around with like other styles almost, like on the same album, but somehow like sonically it kind of works, and I guess that's what I'm proud of anyway. Like the fact that we you know, managed to make like a varied and, you know, an album that takes you on a bit of a journey.
Well, thank you so much for your time, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
you have been listening to Recess with Spinelli, WSPN 91.1 FM, Skidmore College Radio, and we have been speaking with Liverpool-based The Wombats, and their third studio album, Glitterbug, is out now.